TruPowerGenerator.com. That's TRUPowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Thanks for joining me tonight. It is Sunday, October 12th, and tomorrow is going to certainly be a very, very big day. Not just for our country, but also for the state of Illinois, and certainly for those in Israel and the Palestinians held hostage by their own dictators, Hamas, in Gaza. It's a very big day as the hostages are due to be released. I believe at our time, it'll probably be early in the morning. Our time, but about midday when it comes to this Israel. And President Trump is headed over there. It's also a big day because, you know what? President Trump has declared it is Columbus Day. It's not Indigenous People Day. It is going to be called Columbus Day. Here you go.
Christopher Columbus obviously discovered the New World in 1492. He was a great Italian explorer. He sailed his 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, across the Atlantic Ocean and landed in what's today the Caribbean. But this is a particularly important holiday for Italian Americans who celebrate the legacy of Christopher Columbus and the innovation and explorer zeal that he represented.
In other words, we're calling it Columbus Day.
Yes. Well, there you go. We are going to be calling it Columbus Day. And still, unfortunately, in Chicago, the Columbus statue remains sequestered away, taken off of its pedestal during the 2020 riots, in which the police also got pummeled and assaulted by a bunch of Antifa-like folks. So that's Chicago's legacy for Columbus Day. But you know what? We're going to bring it back, and Trump is as well. Now, the third reason it is such a big day, and it's really a big, big day for Illinoisans, is that he's gone. That's right. Mike Madigan is headed to prison tomorrow. Tomorrow, the October 13th, is the deadline for Mr. Speaker, the name he coveted, to report to federal prison. He's looking at 7.5 years behind bars. At age 83, it's possible Mike Madigan may die in jail. For a guy accustomed to calling the shots and having adoring kleptocratic union thugs and grifters do whatever he asked, this experience will, I would assume, be quite uncomfortable. It won't be nearly as uncomfortable as what Illinoisans have endured, however, during his 50 years of terror in the Illinois House and 37 years as Speaker. You see, he and his cronies turned Illinois, a state that should be one of the most prosperous in the country, into a financial wreck. It was under Madigan that Illinois became a state with the worst credit rating, and today it still has that worst credit rating. Despite what Governor Pritzker wants to tell you, we still have the worst credit rating in the country. And you know what? We're just maybe a little bit closer to whoever's in second place, but it's still by far the worst. But this is Madigan's doing too, and then piled on by Pritzker and other cronies. Madigan leaves behind piles and piles of debt at the state and local level, including the worst pension debt. That is his legacy. It's also Jim Edgar's legacy, and a number of Republicans voted for that goofy pension ramp. But let's face it, Madigan knew what was going on when it came to the numbers. He didn't want to discuss the numbers. That's him. And, you know, and to pay for all of it, he set up a system that imposed the highest state and local tax burden on taxpayers, including the highest property taxes. Those property taxes supplied a customer base, which is really, really what he should have gone to, prison for, is his collusion when it came to lowering property taxes for particular clients and then screwing the rest of the residents. But those high property taxes supplied the customer base for his bread and butter property tax appeal business. Look, he could have used his power for good, and he chose not to. So he turned the state over to the public sector unions. He created a caste of radical identitarian socialists that learned the power politics from him, and they have now taken it to a new level. Now, I will say near the end of his term, he lost it all. I mean, this guy used to be a little bit concerned about some of the social and cultural issues that were going on during this time frame, but all of that was left to the wayside when he started to see his power erode. And so to keep people at bay, specifically the progressive Black caucus and the radical Hispanic caucus, he went along with all the cultural issues of the day, and he capitulated on everything. So, I mean, let's be clear here. Madigan did. He had 100% control of everything for the last 20 years. I mean, so this is during the Blagojevich years. This is during the Quinn years. This is even during the Rauner years, even though at one point there was not a supermajority in the House. There was still a supermajority in the Senate, and Madigan controlled it all. So it didn't matter if he didn't have a supermajority in the House. He had a favorable Senate to be a backstop for him. If he didn't have Democrat control in the Senate, he had a favorable Democrat governor that he also controlled. He literally controlled everything. All the problems that we're facing right now, whether it's sanctuary state, abortion on demand, high property taxes, business regulation out of control, union control, you name it, it all falls on the feet of Mike Madigan. And I say that with quite certainty. Now, there are other bad actors that went along with him, but nobody stopped him. They allowed him to amass power and power and power and more power. And that's what he liked. This guy was on a complete ego trip his entire time in office. It was all about him amassing wealth and him amassing power. And he used it. He used it to create what we have now today in the state of Illinois. Everything in the state is a scam, and everybody should realize that. That's Mike Madigan. That's his legacy. And so he goes to prison in disgrace. He never thought he would be caught. Let's be clear about that. But he reports to Club Fed tomorrow. So there's no man, myth, or legend here. He just goes to jail as a crook, but for really inconsequential crimes compared to the damage he did to the people he promised to serve and the oath he swore to uphold. His speakership is a black mark in Illinois politics and on the Democrat Party. He owned all of them. He controlled all of them, and they all paid homage to him. Don't believe your liberal white, woman Democrat. Oh, we stood up to Madigan, like they want to say. Not true. They did not stand up to him until it became comfortable to stand up to him, until the writing was the wall that he was going down anyway. Trust me on that one. I know them. I was there for those 6 years, the most trying 6 years, I would say, of the entire, probably the entire last 25 years in the state. So anyway, he was allowed to reign for as long as he did, and there's plenty of blame to go around for why that is. But honestly, it primarily rests on the voters. We're going to take a short break here. We're coming right back. We have Jonathan Greenberg on. He's going to discuss the Gaza peace deal and what he expects will happen in phase 1 and phase 2. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives.
Larry Elder talks directly to Democrats.
Even if you hate this man's guts, isn't it better after they deployed troops in D.C., where there was a dramatic decline in homicide, a dramatic decline in robberies? Don't you like the idea that there might be a few more people alive who otherwise would be dead but for what Trump did?
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donnelly Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donnelly Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donnelly does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers. It's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
Your local State Farm agent, Anthony DeGrotto, combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. You can combine your home, auto, and life insurance to not only save you money, but give you the peace of mind you've been looking for. Anthony DeGrotto is your go-to agent in Chicagoland. He and his team will work for you to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance today. Anthony DeGrotto will help you mix and match things perfectly. His State Farm office is a top pick 2024 Daily Herald Reader's Choice Award winner. He's a proud supporter of Tunnel to Towers and like-minded as you. His State Farm agency is currently looking to add members at their Roselle office. Call Anthony at 847-895-1500 today or visit DeGrottoSF.com. That's DeGrottoSF.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeanne Ives.
Well, welcome back. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. Phone number here, 312-642-5600. And as I said, this is it's been a remarkable week. There's been a lot of news going on. Probably the most salient news, the most important news, certainly on the international stage and really for Americans as well, is that they have come up with some sort of peace agreement now in Gaza. And well, here to discuss that is my good friend, Jonathan Greenberg. He is the senior fellow with the Haim Solomon Center, which he co-founded, a news and public policy group. And he previously served as its senior vice president there. He's a respected voice on foreign policy and Jewish issues. His work has been carried in the New Jerusalem Post, New York Daily News, New York Post, the Washington Times, The Hill, the New York Observer, the Daily Caller, and numerous other publications. He's also an ordained rabbi here in the state of Illinois. And he's a good friend of mine. He joins me now to discuss this monumental peace agreement. Jonathan, I guess my first question is, will it hold?
I think at first it will. I think we're going to see God willing, we'll see the hostages handed over as soon as, around 10 p.m. or midnight today. And I think it will hold through the prisoner exchange portion. The Israelis are prepared to release some pretty bad people in exchange for getting their hostages back. The IDF has already pulled back to the agreed upon line. They'll pull back further in two more stages. And it's a win for Israel. So, I mean, this allows Israel certainly to say that everything that they wanted, if it all gets implemented, they'll have decisively won the war. So certainly on Israel's side, I think they're prepared to implement it. The thing people have to remember about Hamas is that the interests of everyday Gazans are not the interests of Hamas. Hamas has undertaken a forever religious war to annihilate Israel and Jews. They're not going to stop trying to do that, which means that whoever takes over governing the Gaza Strip has to be prepared and capable of dealing with them, and they will try to come back and they will try to take power again. And whoever takes over control has to be prepared to deal with that. But assuming that happens, yeah, I think this can work.
Okay, well, I mean, that's good. There is a number of writers that are, just saying that, we have to be careful here. They said, essentially, one particular guy, George Gatfanos, I don't know if you've followed him at all. He said the ceasefire's architecture is self-defeating. Phase 1 treats Hamas as a legitimate interlocutor. Israel agrees to release more than 1,700 Palestinian prisoners for 48 hostages, 20 of whom are believed to be alive. Phase 2, by contrast, demands Hamas's disarmament, political sideline, and institutional dismantling. By legitimizing Hamas to complete Phase 1, Israel forfeits the leverage required to enforce Phase 2.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think, first of all, I think right. Hamas is holding the hostages. So, I mean, in order to get them to release them, you have to give them something. And giving them prisoners that's what Israel has to trade. And listen, it is an extraordinary accomplishment on the part of President Trump to have gotten them to release all of the hostages at all. Giving up, especially the living hostages, is just, I never thought that would happen. I really thought that what they would do was trickle a few out at a time. They use them both as leverage. They use them to torture Israelis, which they like doing. I'm shocked that they agreed to do it. And the reason they agreed to do it was because President Trump was prepared to let Israel hammer them militarily, which is the only thing that works. In the Middle East, the only thing that works is strength, and Israel has been hammering them for the last couple of months. Hamas is in real danger of having everybody that matters to them eliminated. And then Israel, of course, struck in Qatar, the political leadership of Hamas, which was bold. But basically, the way that the Trump administration got the Qataris on board with this, which was huge for actually making it happen, was that he gave the Qataris cover. He said that he would personally guarantee that Israel would not strike within Qatar territory again, so long as the Qataris came to the table and forced Hamas to make this deal. So, I mean, again, President Trump, he knows how to make deals, right? This is and he took what he had and he used it, and to great effect. This is a huge victory for him.
Well, absolutely it is. And of course, Barack Obama's statement, which Charles Lipson fortunately did put out, it was, after 2 years of unimaginable loss and suffering for Israeli families and the people of Gaza, we should all be encouraged and relieved that an end to the conflict is within sight, that those hostages still being held will be reunited with their families, and that vital aid can start reaching those inside Gaza whose lives have been shattered. More than that, though, it now falls on Israelis and Palestinians, with the support of the U.S. and the entire world community, to begin the hard task of rebuilding Gaza and to commit to a process that, by recognizing the common humanity and basic rights of both peoples, they can achieve a lasting peace. That was Barack Obama. What was glaringly missing from that entire thing? That's what Charles Lipson asks his people. What was missing from that? Well, any recognition that Trump had anything to do with any of this. Right?
Yeah, right. Of course. Which is, you and I are both from the school that you prefer to get something done than to get credit for it. I'm not sure President Trump is from that school. But,
certainly not.
Honestly, I think the way that history remembers this is that it's a huge victory for President Trump.
Well, I agree.
But having said that, I want everybody to look at what happened after World War II. The Allies basically rebuilt Germany. We basically rebuilt Japan. And we did that so that those countries would grow into something that wouldn't bother the world again. Now, obviously, the Soviets had half of Germany, and the Western countries had the other half of Germany. And those had different futures for a little while. But the reason that the peace worked after World War II was because of what happened in the details after the peace was made. Mm-hmm. So what matters here is what happens after. So the hostage exchange, the release of prisoners, fine. What matters next is what happens with the details.
Well,
who is going to be controlling?
Well, all right. So in that regard, then, what do you say to the Qataris? You cannot no longer harbor or fund Hamas leadership?
No, they're going to keep doing that. And the reason they're going to, the question, though, is to what end, right? So if the Qataris are hosting Hamas political leadership, I don't care about that. It's if they're pumping millions and millions of dollars into the Gaza Strip to fund the infrastructure for a religious forever war against the Jews. That we don't want them doing again. If they want to host Khalid Mashal in Qatar, I don't care about that. Those guys have to live somewhere. And the agreement also says that any member of Hamas who wants to leave the Gaza Strip will be guaranteed safe passage and residence somewhere else. Maybe some of the leadership will want to end up in Qatar too. That's fine, as long as they're not in Gaza making trouble for their neighbors. Mm-hmm. But that's a win, I think, for everybody.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I mean, back to a little bit of the U.S. response here. I mean, Josh Shapiro said, obviously, Trump should get credit for the deal, adding the work that his administration has done here has been really important. You've got former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel saying Trump deserves credit. If you want to get heard on your criticism, you give a compliment, and then you can be heard loud and clear on your criticism. If you are if all you are is a critic, it's harder to be heard. So, I mean, you've got a number of people, even Tim Kaine, saying, I appreciate President Trump's work to bring Israel and Hamas to the table, and I'm encouraged that the agreement has been made to release the remaining hostages. So, I mean, there are quite a few Democrats recognizing that Trump made this deal happen.
Yeah, and I think that what we also should take away from this is the lesson that what wins here is strength, right? The U.S. was perfectly willing to let, and by the way, this wasn't even U.S. strength, although we did, by knocking out the Iranian nuclear program, we took the knees out from a lot of what Hamas was able to do in terms of their ability to reconstitute without having the Iranian patron or the Qatari patron. Hamas is not going to be well funded again, and so taking those actions was a really bold step. And President Trump being willing to do things like that, everybody in the Middle East has to accept that he might do anything. You never know what he's going to do, and that's such a great strength. It's the same thing that Ronald Reagan had. Our opponents couldn't count on us being meek like they could with Joe Biden.
That's true.
And so, there's nothing meek about President Trump.
No.
So we're coming at these people from a position of strength, letting them know that if they don't do what we want, if they aren't going to act reasonably, we're just going to hammer them into the sand. That's the best way to approach these people, especially Hamas. Again, and it's so hard for Westerners to get our arms around what these people are all about, but they don't care about anything except their version of Islam, which requires them religiously to carry out a forever war against the Jews. And as long as they are able to continue trying to do that, if they have, if they lose an arm, if they lose a leg, they're going to keep moving forward trying to do that. That's the level of dedication they have. And the only thing to do with people like that is kill them. There's nothing to talk about. There's a whole scene in one of the Batman movies about, where Alfred is talking to Bruce Wayne about it. There's a whole scene about people you can't buy or negotiate with them. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
That's a really good point. Okay, so that really begs the question then, what will we see? What will be the reaction on college campuses in the wake of this peace deal? Are you going to you're going to have a place here where there's still a lot of folks who are from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. This went all the way down to the middle schools, marching out of class in CPS, not knowing what the hell they're talking about, but obviously being egged on by their teachers to just march for from the river to the sea. What happens here, do you think?
The last thing those people want is for there to be any kind of peaceful solution.
Right.
They're willing to wage war against Israel right up until the last Gazan child. They are perfectly willing to living in safety in the United States, living on their posh campuses. They're willing to sacrifice as many Palestinians as required to get at Israel. And that's not going to stop. I assume that will continue. The great pivot has already begun, where people have said, well, the fight in Gaza really wasn't the point. The point is that Palestine isn't free yet, right? So the pivot has already begun to talking about the broader issue of Palestinian statehood. And okay, great, but statehood isn't achieved overnight, no matter what the French and British want to say. Statehood is something you have to build, and especially in a
Well, is a two-state solution possible? Is it a two-state solution even going to be back on the table from the Israeli standpoint?
I would never say that anything is impossible. I think it's really unlikely. But
okay.
If a series of things that I think are pretty unlikely were to happen, sure, I can see a possibility for it someday in the future. But we're a long ways away from that. And if you want to build that, you have to build it slowly and carefully. And the first step that we're about to take in the next few hours is to get Israel's hostages home. The next step will then be to make sure that Gaza is governed by people who want a better future for the people of Gaza and who can stop Hamas from destroying it. Mm-hmm. And if we can do those things, then yeah, I think there's hope. Okay. There's certainly more hope today than there was, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago.
Absolutely. It's a joyous time, no doubt. But last question, and we've only got about 30 seconds left. What does this mean for Netanyahu's future?
I haven't seen a poll lately, but I assume that he's doing pretty well. Look, he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, I don't know if anybody else in the Israeli political firmament could have pulled off what he's done in the last couple of years. I think the October 7th attack was largely the fault of his oversight, and he'll have to answer for that at the polls. But his conduct of the war, I think, has been exemplary.
All right. He's Jonathan Greenberg. Thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. Thanks, Jonathan.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Breakthrough Ideas, and by Attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
I'm Kathleen Maloney. As the world awaits the release of the remaining Israeli hostages after a deal to end the war in Gaza, Vice President J.D. Vance describes our role there on Fox's Sunday Morning Future.
The only major commitment that we've made is that we're going to monitor this peace. And we're sort of we're the one party, the President of the United States in particular is the one person that everybody really trusts.
President Trump is traveling to the region for the signing of the peace deal. Federal agents are investigating the deadly explosion that killed 16 at a Tennessee munitions facility.
More than 300 authorities have been working the scene so far, and investigators say finding out what caused this will be a long process given the widespread damage.
Fox's Madison Scarpino. Debris is scattered more than 2 miles. America is listening to Fox News.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hey Chicagoland, your trusted friend Jeff here from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Over the past few months, I've shared how our veteran-led team serves Chicagoland homeowners. Today, I want to share with you what your neighbors are saying about working with us. Like Mary in Downers Grove, who wrote, "They listened to my concerns about moving from my home of 30 years and created a timeline that worked for me." Or Tom and Carol Stream, who said, "Their team helped me sort through 40 years of memories with respect and patience." This is why hundreds of your neighbors have given us a 5-star Google review and an A+ rating with the BBB. We don't just buy houses. We help people through life's transitions with understanding and care. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and always on your timeline. Ready to work with the home buying team your neighbors trust? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
So my mother is thinking of switching from Verizon to Pure Talk, but she's worried the deal sounds too good to be true. Michael, she said, how can those Pure Talk people offer me the same basic service as Verizon for so much less money? I said, Ma, go ask Google how much Verizon spends on advertising and promotions. A few seconds later, my mother said, oh my goodness, $12 billion a year? That must be a typo. I'll tell you what I told my mom. It's not a typo. Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotions, and their customers are paying for it. Well, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. Trust me, I would know. That's why they can offer you and my mother unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. And if you're a business owner, you could really save a fortune. Dial pound 250, say the words Mike Rowe, and you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 Mike Rowe. Pure Talk. Everything you need and nothing you don't.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. The phone number here, 312-642-5600. If you want to weigh in on the conversation, we still have much more to cover. Listen, we're turning straight to some state issues because guess what? Starting Tuesday, they are back in session in Springfield. So they're having veto session. Now, veto session usually requires a supermajority to pass any bill or legislation that's supposed to start immediately. Or if it starts prior to July 1st of next year, then you have to have a supermajority. But it is a dangerous time because they could do anything that they want to. A couple of the big issues that are on the table looking forward is one is this massive energy bill, which I have covered on this show repeatedly, but it literally would usurp power from what now is more of a conglomeration of people that decide energy policy. Now it would give all that power to 5 appointed officials of the governor. I did an extensive Facebook Live with the State Senator Sue Rezin on this topic. I've covered it with Brad Hallbrick as well. But listen, this bill is a total... It's a total disaster. I mean, I've never seen such a power grab in my life. It takes off any sort of ratepayer caps that protect ratepayers or taxpayers from any excessive funding for green energy fantasies of the big guy. That would be Governor Pritzker, because that's what he is. But it's a dangerous time. This bill also, they have not figured out how to fund transit in this state yet. This is the CTA bailout bill. This is the Metra PACE combined with the CTA new governance structure. This is, again, we covered this with the Hanover Park mayor. This is basically saying within a half mile of every train station that this superstructure can come in and tell you what they want developed in your town, and you have no local control. This is the same bill that had the $100.50 delivery tax for everything that goes to your home. That bill is still alive. That could come up in veto session. And then there's some other bills that could come up. One of them we're going to talk about a little bit after we discuss property taxes, and that's basically they want to redirect Tier 2 pensions back to Tier 1. That would be a ginormous mistake, but that is also a potential problem. I mean, if any one of those three things happen, it's awful. If two of them happen, I mean, I don't know what even to say. If all three happen, I mean, seriously, it's lights out. It's literally lights out in the state of Illinois. So, but I want to turn now to Brian Costin. He's the Deputy State Director for Americans for Prosperity. He's a good friend of mine. I've known Brian for a very long time, ever since I ran for office in 2012. He's been there working at Illinois Policy Institute, Heartland Institute, and other areas. He actually worked in the Rauner administration as well. He's very, very well informed. Now he works for the Americans for Prosperity. And he just recently penned an op-ed in the Chicago Tribune warning people that Illinoisans already face the highest property taxes, and now legislators and political appointees close to Pritzker are pushing in veto session for a mega project bill that could trigger the largest property tax redistribution in state history, shifting billions from politically connected mega developers onto ordinary families and small businesses. There you go again. Another problem, Bill. Brian, thanks so much for joining me on The Real Story.
Thanks for having me on, Jeanne. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, tell us more about this mega bill. Honestly, until I read your op-ed, I did not even know that this bill was also under consideration.
Yeah, so, I mean, it just kind of ties into some of the energy stuff. Obviously, Pritzker and his model for the economy is to give Illinoisans the highest combined state and local taxes, highest property taxes, third highest corporate income taxes, et cetera. Meanwhile, he uses the power of government to dramatically reduce taxes on some privileged businesses. A lot of times we see them connected with green energy, things like data centers or battery centers or windmills and solar plants. The list goes on and on and on. So I think that this is designed to give Governor Pritzker and his favored industries a lot more power to reduce their tax burden. And in this case, they want to directly redistribute that property tax burden to people that live right next door to these districts. This idea came initially from the Chicago Bears in regards to their Arlington Heights stadium project proposal, but it's kind of morphed to be something much bigger than that. It's now a statewide bill, and HB 4058, which is sponsored by Assistant Majority Leader Jay Hoffman, takes it to any project in the state of Illinois that invests more than $100 million. What they can do is freeze the property taxes at the initial level of assessment for 23 to 40 years. And so that's dramatically reducing the property taxes of any mega project owner. It could be 95, all the way up to 99% of the property taxes taken off. And in the bill, which no one is talking about, they can directly redistribute it to everyone else because they can operate, all of the overlapping taxing bodies can operate as if that mega project entity was paying their full property taxes. So when there's new construction, they can raise the property tax levy accordingly. And so normally you're protected as a taxpayer because that new development would also be paying the property taxes. But now with this bill, if it goes into effect, it basically redistributes all the property tax burden from these mega projects, which could be many hundred millions or even billions of dollars, and really just destroy local taxpayers. We did a little bit of calculation based on the Arlington Heights scenario, and we believe that the property taxes there could double within 7 years for entities. Yes, they could double for certain entities like School District 15, which that mega project district sits entirely in. And the reason why is because it would roughly double the equalized assessed value within, District 15. And so all of that burden, if District 15, like it normally does, taxes to the max, all of that tax burden will be redistributed to the people of that district. And so this is like TIF districts on steroids, and it's a really dangerous thing that's kind of slid underneath the radar in Springfield.
Well, I mean, when I found out about this bill, I immediately sent you an article that said that Goshen, which is getting $536 million in state tax credit subsidies from Pritzker, they did that, that was all hush-hush done before anybody else knew about it. Part of that deal that was negotiated is a 30-year property tax freeze as well for Goshen. And so you've got double trouble here. And it's the same thing with the Bears Stadium. The Bears have not given up on asking for taxpayer support from the state for their $1 billion stadium complex that they want. They have not given up on that idea. I think it's going to be more than $1 billion, but I think maybe they want $1 billion from the state. Maybe that's it. But I mean, they're not giving up on that. And so you've got a twofold thing here. You got one, they get their property tax frozen, and then two, they get heavily subsidized by state taxpayers. So the taxpayers are getting slammed both ways.
Yes, in the bill, like the property tax provision is the most dangerous one. But there's also things like sales tax exemption. So when they're buying materials for the construction of the building, they also, in this bill, will get waivers from that. And that could be hundreds of millions or even $1 billion in potential tax revenue from things like that. And so there's really big threats here. Now, there is a provision in the bill that allows for this like side payment. It's called a special payment, and it's something that's negotiated from all those overlapping taxing bodies. But in reality, it's kind of like a slush fund. There's no requirements on how that money is to be spent. There's no requirements on how much money must be collected. It's very loosey-goosey, and it's really a massive threat where even that money can go back to the developer. Like we see sometimes in TIF districts, this kind of operates on the backbone of a TIF district, but that could go back to the infrastructure costs that normally are supposed to be paid by the developer. When your neighborhood was built originally, the developer most likely paid for the streets, paid for the sewers, paid for all the lights and the sidewalks and the trees. That's normally how development is done. But really, there's just humongous threats from this all around. And of course, the mega project developer isn't going to come to an agreement like that unless they save tons of money on their property taxes. And so we did a calculation on what that property tax break might be for the Arlington Heights mega project. And over 40 years, even if you take out 7 years for construction, that could be a $7.5 billion property tax reduction. I know that sounds crazy, but when you have a $5 billion development and the property taxes in Arlington Heights are pretty high, it's really an enormous risk. And all of that $7.5 billion could be redistributed to other property taxpayers. That would be an absolute disaster.
All right. Look, I have much more to discuss with you on this. We're going to take a very short break and be right back to continue the conversation with Brian Costin, Deputy State Director for Americans for Prosperity here in Illinois. We're talking about a really hot issue that could be up for a vote this week.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneinc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal locally.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT. Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Is the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians the revival of an ancient conflict recorded in the Bible?
The nation of Israel is a resurrected nation. So what if there was going to be a resurrection of another people, an enemy people of Israel? The Bible speaks about this whole war as a dragon representing the enemy attacking a woman representing Israel.
Dinesh D'Souza's new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, offers new understanding of October 7th, Israel, radical Islam, anti-Semitism, and biblical prophecy. Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be tied to this place?
We came back to a land that was largely barren and empty, and we brought it back to life, and we're going to keep it.
The dragon will not prevail.
The Dragon's Prophecy, based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. That's salemnow.com. Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right. Thanks for joining me tonight. Listen, this is such an important conversation. So, Brian, I want to thank you so much for holding on and continuing it. I really appreciate it. One thing I want to point out, because we are talking about this property taxes, you've got another mega property deal going on, which is really going to harm taxpayers and if it goes through. But on the flip side, what I find so disgusting is that these Democrats keep pandering to their constituents, saying that they're going to do property tax reform, and they've got this great idea for reform and that great idea of reform, and yet they have super majorities, they have the governorship, and yet no property tax reform, real true property tax reform ever happens. Actually, about 2 years ago, I counted it up. I think there were at least 72 property tax reform bills in the property tax subcommittee. Subcommittees are where, bills go to die, and everybody knows that. So they were never going to see the light of the day. And here we go. Here we have it again. We have this article that came up from let's see here. Oh my gosh. Peoria, Illinois, WMBD put this out, and they basically talked about senior citizens being hit with high property taxes that they can't afford, forcing them out of their forever homes and into assisted livings. They really don't like this. And of course, you've got Dave Vella, a Rockford Democrat, saying that, he's got a way to keep those seniors in the home. He's going to allow seniors to freeze their property tax rate, and that the exemption is going to apply not to just people who earn $65,000 or less, but the bill would increase that exemption to $80,000 or less. And this is going to be the game changer. This is going to really help. This is a huge property tax reform bill. It's not. It's bogus. It's like it's so de minimis. It's a joke.
Well,
are you there, Brian? Hello? Oh, okay. We'll see if we can get Brian back. Brian, trying to get him back on the air here, because this is such a huge, this is the game that they play, folks, all the time. They play this game all the time. And the other thing that, just beware of it, because they're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I'm running for office again. And I'm all about property tax reforms because we have the highest in the country. The highest property taxes in the country. This isn't even funny anymore. It's kleptocratic. It's like I told you, Mike Madigan made his business off of high property taxes and making sure that giving businesses a special deal that they came back to every single year, because they always went up, and then he'd cut a deal with them, and he'd cut him down by a third, and he'd take his third out of the payment, and that's how he got wealthy. He didn't get wealthy being a state rep, oh, by the way, or even the Speaker of the House. He got wealthy because he controlled the property tax system, and that's what was his bread and butter. So this is all Madigan doing. These guys have learned how to do this ad nauseum. We had to do one fake property tax bill after another under Mike Madigan. He knew it was a fake. Anyway, whatever. I could go on and on. Do we have Brian back? Well, we're trying to get Brian back. Well, that's fine because there's another issue that's coming up too. And I can't believe that they're thinking of doing this. But they are thinking of turning Tier 2 pensions back to Tier 1. So in 2011, okay, Brian, hey, we got you back.
Yeah,
awesome.
sure.
So, Brian, I was just explaining about what a scam these property tax reform bills are because they really aren't reform. They're just de minimis attempts to appease people, and then they never go through anyway.
Well, I think it's a shame. There's a lot of people who want to do property tax reform, but bills like that just redistribute it. It doesn't actually limit the amount of property taxes that local governments can collect. So if you want to focus on seniors and reduce their property tax burden, well, then you're raising property taxes on young families. So really, it's kind of just a shell game and very surface level reforms. We need deeper reforms. Absolutely.
So one other thing I wanted to talk to you about quick before we have to get off the air here and go to a hard break in about 3 minutes. But apparently state lawmakers are, again, considering a bill, SB 1937, that will take Tier 2 pension reforms and get rid of them and return it to Tier 1 pension reforms. Now, David Greising and Derek Douglas and Joe Ferguson, all of them public policy folks in this sphere, said that they would add $80 billion to our already unfunded liabilities. And obviously, I'm opposed to this. This is a terrible idea.
It would be catastrophic to the taxpayers of Illinois. To put that $80 billion in perspective, that would be increasing our burden by over 50%. And they don't really have a tax revenue source to pay for that. And so it's a big handout to increase the pay of government employees, but they haven't put aside that money. Those government employees haven't been paying for that. The pension problem is really the biggest problem in the state of Illinois. It's the reason why our property taxes are so high and our state government is in such bad financial shape. And it kind of reminds me of what they just recently did in Chicago, where they added tens of billions of dollars to their pension burdens there, and now they're on the brink of insolvency. Is that really what we want to repeat on the state level? I think that there's huge problems with doing that. It's very much totally irresponsible. We should be moving the other way, where we bring pensions in line with what they are in the private sector. The benefits that people receive underneath Social Security is probably where we need to be with public employees, if not putting them on Social Security going forward. But we're going in the wrong direction.
Right. And a lot of this was teed up because they say that the salary cap that is part of Tier 2 makes it non-compliant with Social Security. And they say that, yet they don't know that because they've never actually had the analysis done. And if it were the case, it would only be a few select employees that would even fall below the Social Security minimum that they have to have even in a public pension plan. And those could be atoned for separately and individually. So this is all a shell game. It's just this would be a disaster for taxpayers.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really incredible. We have the worst bond rating in the nation. We have the highest taxes in the nation. That means we're the most fiscally irresponsible state in the nation. And now we want to do something that is just reckless. I think that this is something that we should work very, very hard to defeat. I'm not sure that it's going to come before the legislature during this veto session, but we're on guard. And if it does, we're going to do whatever we can to defeat it.
All right. Well, I want to thank Brian Costin. I want to thank Americans for Prosperity for helping us sponsor our Concerned Citizens of Manteno event with Gordon Chang. That's October 28th. We really appreciate you, Brian. Thanks for being on with me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right, great. We'll be right back, and we're going to be talking about those Obamacare subsidies that have shut down the government.
So my mother is thinking of switching from Verizon to Pure Talk, but she's worried the deal sounds too good to be true. Michael, she said, how can those Pure Talk people offer me the same basic service as Verizon for so much less money? I said, Ma, go ask Google how much Verizon spends on advertising and promotions. A few seconds later, my mother said, oh my goodness, $12 billion a year? That must be a typo. I'll tell you what I told my mom. It's not a typo. Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotions, and their customers are paying for it. Well, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. Trust me, I would know. That's why they can offer you and my mother unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. And if you're a business owner, you could really save a fortune. Dial pound 250, say the words Mike Rowe, and you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 Mike Rowe. Pure Talk. Everything you need and nothing you don't.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer.
A warning to Russia. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. President Trump says the war is over between Israel and Hamas. And now he is threatening Russia that it needs to stop the war with Ukraine. Speaking aboard Air Force One on his way to Israel tonight, President Trump warned that he may send Ukraine long-range Tomahawk missiles if Moscow does not stop the war there soon.
Yeah, I might tell them that if the war is not settled, that we may very well do it. We may not, but we may do it.
Also, President Trump, before leaving for the Middle East, where he is expected to help welcome home the 20 remaining living hostages and finalize the peace deal, he had this to say.
This is going to be a very special time, and I guess if you read your own papers and your own networks, everybody's very excited.
And for the first time, Hamas has verified that there are 20 living hostages. Fox's Trey Yingst has more from Tel Aviv.
Hostages are expected to be picked up by the Red Cross inside Gaza and then transferred to Israeli forces. Then they'll be reunited with family members and flown by helicopter to local hospitals for medical treatment. The hostages are set to be exchanged for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. 142 of them are expected to be deported abroad, 100 released into the West Bank, 5 to East Jerusalem, and 3 to Gaza.
And the Northeast is dealing with that nor'easter now.
And we're going to see the potential of tidal flooding, coastal flooding in these back bays and these back streets communities that could rival some of the worst that we've seen since Aaron, which was really only 2 months ago, right? And we saw tremendous flooding on the Jersey Shore.
America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 55. On Monday, it will be mostly cloudy with a high of 73. Monday night remains mostly cloudy with a low of 57. Tuesday will also be mostly cloudy, reaching a high of 68. Wednesday starts off cloudy, but we'll see a mix of sun and clouds later with a high of 62. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Hut, hut. Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Winestock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Winestock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Winestock Market and Lounge voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Winestock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dream to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Welcome back. Thanks a lot. It's been a full evening already, and we are not finished. We have much more to discuss. This is a really important topic, and it's actually extremely interesting because what is keeping the government shut down at this point? Well, it's Obamacare subsidies. That's what's keeping that's why the federal government is, shut down. That's why, the military folks are ostensibly not going to get paid, although Trump has said that he's going to find money to pay them. I hope so, since I got 3 kids in that boat. I'm not worried about them. But that would be a huge concern if we're not paying our folks who can't afford it, and yet we're expecting them to defend the nation. So it is a problem, but it's all over Obamacare subsidies? Like, what's that? I thought that ship had sailed. I thought the Republicans capitulated. I thought that John McCain, didn't take that vote back when he should have to end it all at once in Trump's first term. And now we're still back to discussing Obamacare subsidies, something that, there's actually every single day this week, the Wall Street Journal had a big story about the Obamacare subsidies and the politics behind it. And they're quite clear. These are very rich subsidies that the Democrats want to keep. And it feels like the Republicans may be getting boxed into a corner here where in reality they should just pull the plug on them. Well, here is somebody here to discuss more about this, somebody who really knows everything and studied Obamacare from the get-go is C. Stephen Tucker. He's with Health Insurance Mentors. He's a good friend of mine, and I appreciate his clarity on an issue that could not be more complicated, I think, in all of public policies. Stephen Tucker, thank you so much for joining me.
Good evening, Jeanne.
So you've got Rick Scott writing an op-ed, and Democrats keep shoveling money at Obamacare, saying that they want federal government to keep. He writes, they want the federal government to keep cutting massive checks to insurance companies forever, using your tax dollars to show up the sinking ship of Obamacare. They've even shut down the government to demand it. Obamacare didn't deliver on its promise of health care affordability and stability. President Obama's promise that if you like your health care plan, you can keep it was proved to be a lie. His promise to bring down health care costs with savings of $2,500 every year. That was a lie, too. I mean, you have. I love this one from the Unleash Prosperity, Stephen Moore's thing. He says a dozen broken ACA promises, and he goes through each one of them. So what is the deal with these subsidies? Are we were we paying subsidies to people making $500,000 a year?
Not quite that high, but people earning more than 700% of the federal populace, so close to 800% of the federal populace. So in plain English, you take a couple who's in their 50s living in Chicago. If they make $195,000 a year, married, filing jointly, adjusted gross income, they will qualify for an Obamacare subsidy, albeit not a large one, but they'll still qualify for it. That is double what was originally granted under the original law before the American Rescue Plan in 2021, and then the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which extended the enhanced subsidies, as they are being called colloquially, that were done under Biden, all the way until December 31st, 2025. And then they come to a screeching halt unless something is done, which means that couple who's enjoying a subsidy making $195,000 as of January 1, they won't get any federal subsidy if they make more than 400% above the federal poverty level. That is currently $84,600. So that is a lot less than what they can currently qualify for now. It needs to be understood. This is not the current administration's fault. President Trump has nothing to do with it. These were enhanced subsidies granted under the Biden administration, which were scheduled to sunset December 31st at the end of this year. It is now up to President Trump whether or not he wants to extend them, and I suspect that he will. The question is for how long, a year or 2 years. That's the discussions going on right now, because a lot of people who support the president are reliant upon these subsidies because no one is addressing the cost of health care, which in turn is the reason health insurance is so expensive. All they're doing is printing money, throwing it at insurance companies, and calling themselves heroes.
Well, that's what it feels like. And so one begets the other. The more you subsidize it, the higher the cost is. It's just like college tuition.
That's exactly right. And I can't think of one federal subsidy in American history that was ever created that was ever then repealed. Once you turn on the spigot, everybody likes it. They want to keep getting it. And there is a tremendous majority of people who want these subsidies to continue, and that's why I suspect they will.
But it doesn't feel quite fair to people who are having to pay through their employer, or employers who are having to pay on the open market for insurance to cover their folks to keep them employed. It just there's so much unfairness here. How do we solve this?
Well, we have to start talking about new health care policy. We had a beautiful plan that we put together called the American Health Care Plan back in when John McCain did his thumbs down vote at 2 a.m. when there was a convenient camera nearby in the Senate. But that was the best piece of health care legislation I've read in 30 years. But it was killed by one man at 2 a.m., and that was John McCain's legacy. He killed that bill. So they don't even have to write new legislation, Jeanne. They just have to start talking about that again and pass it. And then we will actually have a law that will actually result in reducing the cost of health care and in turn the cost of health insurance. And we won't have to keep spending so much federal dollars, $100 billion a year, for these enhanced subsidies. We won't need it if we address the crux of the problem. And the crux of the problem is the cost of health care.
And for what do you blame the cost of health care? Is it it's so tech and centered now? Is it the lawfare that goes along with it? Is it a combination of all that? Is it just simply that people are using more of it, or is it also that we're just unhealthy? We're much more unhealthy. I mean, you sell these plans, you know who can get the best rates and who can't.
Yes. Well, I hate to say this because I love the Gipper, one of my favorite presidents in my entire life, Ronald Reagan. But it was him who signed EMTLA, which is an acronym that stands for the Emergency Medical Treatment and Leave Act. And it was written and signed under President Reagan. And it was a sensible law at the time because, for example, there were pregnant women who didn't have insurance, and his law granted that if they went to a hospital, they had to cover them. Well, since then, it's been expanded to anyone who presents with an emergency within 200 feet of any ER emergency room. It has to be covered. It has to be paid for by the taxpayer. Well, that has grown now to $620 billion. That's what the taxpayer spent to cover largely those who are not here legally, right? Illegal immigrants who use the emergency room for, amongst other things, besides emergency room visits and actual emergencies, preventive care and everything else. That's why when you go to an ER now, it's just packed. You have to wait hours to get care, even though you're a paying customer with health insurance. So it is cost shifting that has been the major driver behind the cost of why healthcare is so expensive. Those who do not have health insurance must be treated under Reagan's federal law, and those costs are shifted to those who have health insurance. And again, $620 billion a year, projected to be $700 billion next year alone. That is the crux of the problem.
This is just outrageous. Okay, so the other part of the shutdown talk, obviously, I think the bigger question is whether or not these Obamacare subsidies for the wealthy continue. I think the Democrats are arguing, of course, that illegals are not getting subsidized federal health care. That's obviously, from what you just said, that's not true. They are.
Correct. And it's not just under Reagan's law. I'm not just blaming him.
Right.
There are 14 states that consider themselves sanctuary states or sanctuary cities like Chicago, for example, or sanctuary states like Illinois, where those who are not here legally can come and they can enroll in Medicaid. Now, people on the news, many of them on the left, say, well, the law says that illegal aliens cannot get Medicaid. It's the federal law says they can't. That's a true statement. This is precisely why governors like Pritzker signed legislation to use state revenue only, state tax revenue only, to create Medicaid programs to specifically provide health insurance to those who are here illegally. There were two programs. One ran out of money. You and I talked about it before. And there's still one going on now, specifically for those who are here illegally in this country, illegal immigrants, to be on Medicaid because they don't qualify for Medicare. And so under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, President Trump put into that legislation that if these 14 states, it's not just Illinois, if these 14 states continue to fund these programs using strictly state tax revenue, then the only thing we can do as a federal government to stop them from doing it is to reduce the reimbursement rate we give to those who are legally eligible to get Medicaid. So currently, the federal government reimburses the state of Illinois 90% for those who are legally eligible to get federal Medicaid.
That's the expansion population.
Yeah, it's the expansion population, right? So Pritzker does not shut down this program using, again, strictly state tax revenue. Then by June of next year, then President Trump is going to reduce the FMAP, which is the reimbursement amount that the federal government gives the state of Illinois, from 90% to 80% for those who are legally eligible for Medicaid under Obamacare expansion. That will cost the state $800 million every 12 months. He's not just doing it in Illinois, he's doing it in all the other states. This is the other part of the argument. Democrats want that program to continue. They don't want anybody stopping that from happening. That's the other part of the argument.
Wow. Okay, I just learned a lot in a short 15-minute discussion with you. And I'm sure my listeners did too. So there you go, folks. Those are the arguments being played out. Those are the reasons that the federal government is shut down at this time. And maybe you don't care. A lot of people don't really interact with the federal government. They don't have a need to. But long term, it's not good. So I thank you so much, Tucker, for coming on and explaining this to my audience and adding some clarity to a very complicated topic.
Yeah, so they can follow up with all the facts and data they need at cstephentucker.wordpress.com. All the data is there.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much. This is The Real Story. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. We'll be right back after this break.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio, every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a new project, or just looking for that extra edge, your brain is your most valuable asset. And now there's a way to support it every day. Think Factor. From the makers of Relief Factor, Think Factor is built to help you stay sharp, nurture your memory, and boost your attention. It unlocks the mental clarity and precision you need to stay ahead of the game no matter the challenge. For me, it's been a game changer. I have never had such clarity, focus, and concentration before. I love telling you about Think Factor. If you're a go-getter who refuses to settle, Think Factor helps you perform at your best and keep your edge. Call 800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. That's 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com for Think Factor. Your first bottle, just $19.95. Think Factor. I'll bet it'll be a game changer for you like it has been for me. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily. Think Factor.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is an important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining me here on The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. It's been, quite the week, like I said. Grabbing my notes here, sorry. But we have this big thing coming up. It's our Goshen event. It's our Concerned Citizens of Manteno Goshen event. We're trying to raise funds to take down the CCP affiliated plant. I mean, and we need everybody to be in on this. And I'm not going to actually stop talking about it because it's that important that we do this, that we help these people out who are fighting not just big government, but big corporate. And it's also important because China's a bad actor now. Like, here's what we know. We know that Trump just threatened 100% additional tariffs on China as they have decided that they're going to withhold rare earth metals to the United States and impose shipping fees on American ships that dock at Chinese ports. And as it pertains to rare earth metals, the Wall Street Journal noted that export applications for products with military uses generally won't be approved. This is what the Chinese ministry said, adding that licenses related to semiconductors or artificial intelligence development will be granted on a case-by-case basis. The ministry also said, this is the Chinese ministry, it would require licenses for exports of certain lithium batteries and some equipment and materials used to make them. And they're expanding restrictions on technology used in EVs and consumer electronics. The controls are the latest from Beijing to flex China's global dominance of supply chains, especially for cutting-edge industries and defense systems. The new rules signal China is tightening its stranglehold on key industrial bases and technologies as the U.S. and other Western countries aim to build up domestic manufacturing and reduce reliance on China. They want to maintain as much of that strategic position as possible, said Julian Evans Pritchard, head of the China economics at Capital Economies. So, I mean, this comes as no surprise. This is not just, this is an offensive measure. This is also a retaliatory measure. Now, look, Trump said back in April, like, I'm putting 145% tariffs on China, and then he just really didn't do it. And they're supposed to have some meeting that towards the end of November, December timeframe. And so you've got this window right now where they're all posturing with each other what to do. And so China is saying essentially, look, we're not going to supply these rare earth minerals. And they have a corner on the market. They've got the market cornered. They own the industrial processes to do it. They're the ones who go ahead and dig it up and process it and all of that. And ship it. And they use their own cheap sort of slave labor to do it. And so people have become dependent on it. It's shameful that they've become dependent on it. And the long-term solution is to not rely on the Chinese. That's the long-term solution here. Our own businesses should be able to develop its own mining operations for these rare earth minerals, process them, and there's no doubt in my mind that they will be able to do it cheaper and with less environmental impact, and certainly not using slave labor or child labor in African nations to dig up these rare earth metals that are used in a number of high-tech functions, such as EVs. Now, I could care less about EVs. I think you know that. Look, if you want to buy one, great, go buy one. But I'm not interested in subsidizing them in any way. But there's other important things like microchips that they need these materials for. So they have a strategic advantage, and now they're going to use that strategic advantage. And the latest tit for tat is that Trump says he's going to show China who's boss, and that he's going to put on an additional 100% tariffs and export restrictions on American technology if China doesn't back down. But it begs the question, because in the state of Illinois, you've got two things going on here, right? You've got the federal government, who is literally investigating Goshen, a CCP-affiliated company, which we have talked about relentlessly on this show. In fact, you can go to our Dump Goshen page at breakthrough-ideas.com and you can read more about it. But you've got Goshen under congressional investigation. You've got the Chinese threatening American industry, which, fine, we shouldn't have ever gotten in this position where they control all these important rare earth metals and their processing. We should have never gotten that position. But regardless, you've got them being a bad actor on the international stage, them with their human rights abuses, which we have detailed, as we had Steve Mosher on just a couple weeks ago. We've had Gordon Chang on a couple different times on this show to talk about this. And here is the Illinois governor cutting a deal to give them $500 million in subsidies. I mean, this is absolutely insanity that he's doing this at the time when she is making this huge, colossal miscalculation, by the way. I mean, his to make, but he's not being a good actor at all on the economic stage. And the governor should not be subsidizing it. We just shouldn't be doing it. And so here you've got these citizens of Manteno, I've said before, they have worked their hearts out trying to raise money because they took on the CCP. Seriously, they took on the CCP because Goshen is a CCP affiliated company, and they took on the big government in Illinois, which is J.B. Pritzker and his minions and his lawyers and everything else. And, again, J.B. Pritzker cut them a check for $125 million. So who's fueling the lawsuit on the Goshen side? Well, you, the taxpayer. You're the one who is spending the money to pay for the lawsuit against the concerned citizens of Manteno. And all they want to do is they want to live in a safe community. And there's nothing safe about living next to an EV battery plant that is not just going to produce EV batteries anymore. Oh, no. This goes to that big bill that the Democrats want to pass on energy this coming week, because what they're going to start producing are grid scale batteries. These are the batteries that you'll be funding as well. So you're going to give China the Chinese company Goshen, you're going to give them a subsidy to begin with. Then you're going to abate their taxes for 30 years, give them a property tax freeze for 30 years. Then you're going to further subsidize them by buying a product, grid scale batteries, that are just stupid. They're stupid, especially in Illinois, when we've got all sorts of other coal resources, nuclear resources, and we could start up we have natural gas resources too. We don't have natural gas, but we have combined cycle natural gas plants that operate here, and we could put on more of those. And so time and time again, Pritzker is going to the Chinese for their solution in the state of Illinois when the Chinese are a threat to America. It doesn't make sense. But we'll be right back with the Watchdogs coming up next after this break.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. President Trump has a warning for Russia. The U.S. might provide Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles.
Yeah, I might tell them that if the war is not settled, that we may very well do it. We may not, but we may do it. I think it's appropriate to bring up. Yeah, I want to see the war settled.
The president spoke by phone today with Ukrainian President Zelensky. He's now on his way to the Mideast, where the remaining Israeli hostages are expected to be released. Vice President J.D. Vance telling Fox,
we should just be proud. We should be proud of this negotiating team. We should be proud of our country, because these hostages are going to live their lives thanks to what the United States of America did.
The president will also attend the signing of the peace deal between Israel and Hamas. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Reveille. Trump is solidly focused on setting standards, holding people accountable, and following through. This is Leadership 101. Lefties loathe accountability, and so they loathe what's happening. But anything less than accountability invites confusion, resentment, division, and chaos. So if Democrats want to shut down the government, for example, then Trump will permanently reduce jobs. If Pritzker and Johnson won't cooperate with ICE and refuse to back them up when protesters violently impede operations, then 300 National Guardsmen are going to show up on the streets of Chicago. And having let standards slip in the military means the brass is going to sit through a lecture by Trump's Secretary of War, whether or not they want to be lectured to by a much younger warfighter. On the latter, in dramatic fashion, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth called in all the generals, admirals, command sergeant majors, and equivalents to a joint briefing at Quantico. At the briefing, he lectured them not on new standards in the military, but adhering to time-tested military standards. The military under Obama and then Biden has produced social justice warriors and forced real warriors to go along with woke ideology, race-based promotion, Ibram X. Kendi reading lists, and overweight, unshaven, and long-haired soldiers and sailors, all of which sow division and impede discipline. For many of the brass, this must have been difficult to sit through, but it was a lecture that should not have been necessary. All the brass in that room could have stopped the slide in standards. They didn't. Hence the lecture. Hegseth reminded them that the primary reason for the military is to win America's wars. He said the focus going forward was training and maintaining. He promised to give them the flexibility to do what they needed to prepare for war and the equipment to do so. People panning the speech need to listen to it in its entirety. I'm Jeanne Ives. Listen to The Real Story Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. During cold and flu season, a nearby cough or sneeze can trigger a familiar dread, that helpless feeling of being defenseless against an invisible viral threat. But what if you could change the narrative? What if you could fortify your body's natural defenses? This is why I developed Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail designed to give your body the upper hand. Virago is more than a supplement. It's a revolutionary liquid formula packed with 23 powerful natural nutraceuticals for rapid absorption. This unique blend is scientifically crafted to help build resilience and keep you protected. Don't just hope for good health. Make it happen with Virago. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Virago. Order your bottle today online at myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE.
That's cold! Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit centerguardplumbing.com.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. The phone number 312-642-5600. If we have time for calls, we will take them towards the end of the show, because right now we've got the Watchdogs on. Kirk Allen, John Kraft, thanks so much for joining me. I don't know if you were on when you heard my reveille, my little 2-minute commentary that I do every week. And this one I did about Pete Hegseth. Well, you both are former military. You keep up on what's going on. I mean, my whole thing was like, at first I thought it was sort of theatrical. It seemed very Patton-esque, with the big flag in the background. But the more I listened to it, I actually sat down and listened to the whole thing. I felt like if you just took away the theatrics and listened to what he said, there was nothing wrong in what he said. I just want your feedback quick on that, since you're both veterans.
Well, I can tell you. Go ahead. We both have an opinion.
Okay. And you don't want to share?
Go ahead, John. Good.
Here's my opinion. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I like what he's doing.
Okay. Kirk?
I have to agree. It's long overdue. It's sad that the speech had to be made, but I can tell you firsthand, it was infuriating to see command just completely disregard their obligation to meet even the minimum PT standards. That used to be a topic of discussion every time it came around. We were all out there doing it, and they were never there doing it. And it's just not right. That's not leadership.
All right. I agree. All right. Very good. Okay, well, moving on to leadership. John, can we start with you? Because I find this so alarming. I just can't even believe it. And that's this whole story about former state rep Mike Marin, who's supposed to be a leader, or he was. And he immediately resigns from the Vermilion Advantage as allegations of bribery surface. Is he involved in the bribery? Is that the allegation?
Well, this doesn't alarm us.
Okay.
I'm unsure. At this point in time, we're unsure whether some of these allegations are against him. He says that he filed the allegations against Vermilion County elected officials and the board as a whole. And there's other elected officials that claim that they filed them against other elected officials and Vermilion Advantage. So we're unsure at this point in time, but we do know that the state's attorney put out a press release, which is highly unusual, stating that her office received information regarding allegations of misconduct and official misconduct and bribery, and that the allegations involved Vermilion Advantage, Vermilion County elected officials, and the Vermilion County Board. And she goes on to say that she referred all of that information to the Illinois State Police Special Investigators Unit. And shortly after that...
Well, can we stop there for a minute? What is Vermilion Advantage and what's going on?
Vermilion Advantage is a organization, I think it might have been originally set up as a tourism-ish economic development organization / Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And I believe the county board contracted with them to sell these tax properties. You're familiar with tax property sales?
Yep.
As part of a trustee program. A lot of counties use an attorney out of St. Louis for that, but it looks like Vermilion County uses Vermilion Advantage. But under the trustee program, it doesn't talk about tax sale. It talks about vacant, abandoned, underused properties within the county. But I'm assuming they also do tax sales since they're under contract with the county to do that type of thing.
Okay, so we don't know the deal. I mean, I would hope that he's not involved in any way. We just don't know what's going on here.
Hey, it wouldn't surprise us. I mean, he didn't resign from being a state rep. He wasn't very efficient as a county board member or county board chairman when we were looking at him years ago when he was county board chairman. But we do know that within a day or so of the state's attorney's, it might have even been the same day, the state's attorney's press release, he announced that he submitted his resignation from Vermilion Advantage effective April the 1st. And then almost immediately after that, within a day, Vermilion Advantage removed him from their website and published a press release saying that he resigned immediately. Jeepers. Well, we all know what that means.
Jeepers. That does not look good.
You're not going to be the director or the executive officer of an organization, put in a resignation effective 5 months from now, and then all of a sudden decide, I'm going to resign right now. That doesn't happen.
Do you know how much he was making at Vermilion Advantage? I'm just curious.
I do not know. It's a private organization, so.
Huh. Yeah. That's a private organization that does public work.
Yeah.
Right. It's another one of those quasi-economic development associations, which drive me nuts because they ought to be foyable.
Yeah, we talked about those last week.
Yeah, we sure did. Okay, you had another story here, Oak Brook Park District. What's going on there?
Well, I got another story in Vermilion County too. If you want to hear that.
Okay. Well, let's go to Vermilion County again. Sure, I got time.
The Vermilion County Veterans Assistance Commission held a meeting, and now I haven't discussed this with any of the board members over there because they're all appointed by the various VFWs, American Legions, and things like that.
Okay.
So they may not be familiar with the Open Meetings Act, although they should be since they were appointed in March. They held a special meeting. The only thing on the agenda was approving the budget. They held a discussion talking about pay raises for the director or the superintendent and her employee. And then they went into closed session and, according to the superintendent, had a vote in closed session to give her a pay raise. Public bodies, which is what the Veterans Assistance Commission is, cannot take votes in closed session. They can't give pay raises unless it's on the agenda. And if it's a special meeting, they can only discuss what is listed on the agenda. You can't have a special meeting for A and talk about B.
This is Open Meetings Act 101. This is like the simplest of all things.
So I'm going to work on them next week and see if I can.
Are you taking them to school?
See if I can convince them to do the right thing.
Oh, my gosh.
So, Oak Brook Park District.
Okay. Yes.
The attorney for the Oak Brook Park District, and we published the audio, gave the board, I'm assuming it's because the chairman and the majority wanted him to say this, gave the board a warning that when they leave closed session, it's against the law and the Open Meetings Act with civil and criminal penalties if they discuss anything outside that happened in closed session with anybody that was not in closed session.
That's not true.
That's 100% wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Any person, if I'm a board member and I'm in closed session, we're talking about A, B, and C, I can leave executive session and go find the first reporter and recite word for word what everybody said and what they talked about. That's not against the law. It's their First Amendment right. The Attorney General put out an opinion decades ago saying it was their First Amendment right and their constitutional right. And the appellate court even published an opinion affirming that a board can discuss anything, a board as a whole can discuss anything they talked about in closed session anytime they want to.
Well, this is how COD started. Kathy Hamilton talked to me about what was going on.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And that's the only way for a board member to out the public body for doing things that they shouldn't be doing in closed session.
That's right.
And matter of fact, the Attorney General went on to say that the public body can't. There's no way that a public body can sanction anybody for discussing things outside of closed session because they weren't given the power to do that. It's unconstitutional.
Well,
and
who's
it
this
violates
lawyer?
the First Amendment right.
What's this lawyer's name?
I had the lawyer's name.
Is he part of like Ansel Glink or any of them? Like, who's this guy?
I am not entirely sure. Let me tell you, I should be able to find it right here. The attorney is. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, you look that up. Okay. Hey, we're going to take a short break. We got to come back. We're going to handle Kirk's little things. But if you find out that lawyer, I think we need to name names. Okay? All right. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4600 630-830-4930. 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
For decades, Dennis Prager shared his wisdom with listeners around the world through his lectures, courses, interviews, and debates. Now, for the first time, the collective wisdom of Dennis Prager is being made available as a podcast. Listen to Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager, with new episodes released for a limited time only as a podcast. Subscribe for free today at DennisPrager.com. That's Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager, exclusively at DennisPrager.com.
If you need custom boxes and crates, expert packing and crating, import-export transloading with heavy lift capability, the DC Group delivers. It all started 51 years ago with DC Export and Domestic Packing, the hard work of founders Dominic and Carol Cochemiglio. Their family's desire to exceed customer expectations, backed by an incredible team and loyal customers, is now driving expansion. From their humble roots in a garage-sized building to 100,000 square feet in the Chicago area, 45,000 in Greenville, and a new Houston facility, they're coast to coast. And their sister company, DC Transport, handles everything from container drayage to super heavy haul loads across North America since 1991. Whether it's packing and crating, transloading, transportation service, or trade shows, the DC Group delivers. Those that attended FabTech 2025, we'd love to hear from you. Get your quote now at dcexport.com. That's dcexport.com, your trusted logistics partner.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right, let's get right to it. John, were you able to find that lawyer's name?
Yeah, it's Steve Adams from Robin Schwartz Law Firm based out of Chicago.
Robin Schwartz. Okay, Steve Adams, you said?
Yeah.
Yep, completely got that wrong. Yes, you can discuss closed session.
Isn't that the same law firm that represented the College of DuPage?
Yes, it is. And they represent a lot of other government entities. Yeah, I mean, golly. Hey, let's go to Kirk right away. Oh my gosh, both stories that you teed up for tonight, I'm flabbergasted. I don't even know what to say. Which one do you want to cover first?
Well, let's cover the Dominion. You're in a little more media coverage area than we are. Have you seen or heard anything?
Nothing
about the Dominion dropping their case?
Nothing
Isn't
at
that
all.
Surprising with all the national news
my gosh.
Talking about how Dominion was suing Giuliani and the MyPillow guy and Sidney Powell for defamation? I mean, we heard it for weeks. And now, clear back last month, Dominion dropped the case. They filed a motion to dismiss the case with prejudice, and not a peep out of any national media.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. I've got to get Cleta Mitchell or somebody in the know on about this.
Well, the MyPillow guy, Lindell, his case is still active. So I'm not sure what's going on. Now, there's been speculation in October 9th, which was about 10 or 11 days after this happened, Dominion sold to a gentleman or a group out of Missouri. There's been a lot of speculation that buyout was from a quote-unquote right-wing activist, and that was part of the deal. But I've not been able to find anything anywhere that supports that. But the bottom line is the media is not saying a word about this anywhere. And I'm just shocked, as big as that story was when it initially started.
Yep. Well, like I told my audience before, when I had Lieutenant General Flynn on, he said, if you think the stuff coming out of the DNI's office about the Russia hoax is alarming. Just wait until you see the information that's going to come out about the 2020 election. That's what he said. So I think maybe we're going to start to see some of it come out.
Well, I'm going to speculate only because I've read the court docket and I've followed this all along. And we even got a letter of, a threat of defamation suit from Dominion when we published the information on those lawsuits. The discovery has been going on for almost 4 years. And discovery, as you know, that's where you win or lose your case.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a real gut feeling that the discovery was so substantial that they decided we want no part of this lawsuit.
Wow. Well, I mean, you have an ongoing case from COD too. And this discovery is what's going to win the day for you 10 years afterwards and hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. I mean, the process is the punishment. The legal process is the punishment. That's what's happening here.
Well, I'm shocked that the media who just salivated all over this story is silent. I mean, crickets.
I haven't heard a word, and I'm reading stuff all day long. So thanks for being aware of this. I appreciate it. Yeah.
You bet.
Okay, and then your other story. What is this? A township with only 353 people? It appears there's theft of taxpayer money taking place, and it's approaching 200,000. Why do we even have a township of 353 people?
Right. We need serious reform.
Bad.
It is unbelievable. We filed a FOIA, or actually I tried to get information from the supervisor, and he blew me off and stopped answering text messages. So I had to mail it, had to send it, with a tracking so that I had confirmation he got it. And then out of the blue, almost 2 weeks after that, I get a notice from their attorney that the current supervisor is in receipt of it, and they asked for some more time because the guy resigned. Well, he resigned after I submitted my FOIA. And all I can sit here and think of is the Oakland fire trustees when we submitted our FOIA. Instantly, they resigned.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, we had heard it's around 100,000. And the last word I got, the state police is investigating, and it's about $180,000 that's been misappropriated or missing. That's all the details we know because everybody's pretty tight-lipped about it. But when they resign, when stuff starts to get ugly, it's always bad for them.
Okay, what county is Dawson Township in?
That's in Clark County. That's
Clark
about
County.
It's about 15 miles south of me.
Like this is so bad. And you know what's going to happen? It's right next to Coles County.
Right.
Where you had the other issue with Oakland. And you know what's going to happen, right? They're going to get a slap on the wrist, maybe pay some restitution, and nobody's going to jail over this.
Well, keep your fingers crossed. I'll shift gears to Douglas County real quick.
Okay.
We have a road commissioner up there that lives in Coles County, getting tax exemption in Coles County. I think we talked about this before.
We did. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the investigation by law enforcement is complete, and the state's attorney emailed me Friday, and it is still on his desk for a charging decision, and he should make that decision sometime this week. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that the state's attorney is going to do his job. But this guy's got no business in office. He doesn't live in the county. There's records that were falsified on his voter registration, and he's just sticking his nose up at everybody and saying he's a road commissioner and nobody's going to take it away from him.
That takes some chutzpah. Golly. Yep. I mean, he knows he's wrong. He's got to know he's wrong. How much does he make as road commissioner?
I haven't FOIA'd that township for that info.
I want to know.
In this area,
I want to know.
I'll find out. It's probably between 20 and 30,000.
Okay, but he's probably got maybe he's got some health care that he's getting paid for by the taxpayers.
Yeah, who knows? Some of them do, some don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, hey, I want to thank you guys so much for being on The Real Story with me tonight. That's really all that we have time for. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you next week. And by the way, folks, you got about 10 days to buy your ticket to our fundraising to help the concerned citizens of Manteno. Go to breakthrough-ideas.com. You're not going to want to miss this night with Gordon Chang. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Of switching from Verizon to Pure Talk, but she's worried the deal sounds too good to be true. Michael, she said, how can those Pure Talk people offer me the same basic service as Verizon for so much less money? I said, Ma, go ask Google how much Verizon spends on advertising and promotions. A few seconds later, my mother said, oh my goodness, $12 billion a year? That must be a typo. I'll tell you what I told my mom. It's not a typo. Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotions, and their customers are paying for it. Well, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. Trust